Welcome everyone. This is week 5 of the Rocket Street Grand Series. This is the recap, and I'm here today with Dex, that you can see the picture, and Alter, who's didn't want to show up his face today, and we are with Super Omario Bro, or we're just gonna call him Omer for short. Man, how are you guys doing today? Anyone?
Oh, wonderful.
Wonderful, great. We had
Great.
we had we had an
Pretty
awesome
well.
we had an awesome week of Rocket League here. I know. Europe had an awesome week too, but we are here to talk about South America, and we had a very special week because we were trying to figure out how the playoffs would look like. We didn't have anything for sure, and nothing was set in stone. We had the top four battling, to see who was gonna be top two, and we're gonna talk about why top two is such an important, spot for the playoffs. But we also had the lower fourth teams of the series, trying to get to the fighting for the fifth and sixth spot, so they will be able to continue in this march for the RLCS. Keep struggling to have some opportunities to be there. So in the end, the two teams that were able to escape sudden death are Cryptic and Orchid. They positioned themselves, Orchid in the fifth place and Cryptic in the sixth. Uh, and I want to start with them because it's a tough, really tough spot. Cryptic only won one game in the whole series, one matchup. Everything else they lost. Orchid, on the other hand, had a record of 3-4, which doesn't look too good, but it's still better than 1-6. And I'm gonna, I want to, start with you, Omer. What do you think about those two teams? Do they have a chance? What do you make up of them here on the playoffs for next week?
Well, I think the biggest thing is Orchid showed themselves to be at least this week they looked so much better than they had in the weeks leading up to now. So what that means going forward is really anybody's guess, but the hope is, and I'm sure that this is what they're hoping is going to happen, is they carry that momentum through. They come through. They were just part of this giant pack fighting to stay alive, and now they end very clearly the team that's a threat to the top four, and uh, that if they can carry that mentality in through their practices in the next week, then they could show up. And it's not an easy match against Lotus that they'll be facing, but it's something that they you can take that kind of momentum in and say, look, Lotus is going to be down after having not just a tough series but a tough 3-0 loss. We can beat them, and that kind of mentality is huge to establish, right? You want to be positive in everything you do because you eventually become what you realize your dreams, and that's kind of where they've positioned themselves. Whereas Cryptic went, albeit against two um, or against at least against a team that they weren't expected to do much against. They
Hmm.
played them incredibly tight, but it's at the end of the day they lost two games or two series, and they survived because G Factor and Fantasy Death couldn't win, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's like, where are they in that mindset, And the biggest thing for me is, the last time Cryptic and Ints played, they played them close as well, right? I
Yeah.
think it was in group plays. They lost, but they lost every game. I think all but one game by one goal.
Yeah, that
And
was that,
so,
that game. Now that you mention it, that game was really good. We had a 7 minute OT in the last game. I remember that's actually a record for for Rocket Street. So it was a pretty good game, and we had really high expectations for them for the
mhm.
the league, but they're not showing them really.
That's true. I mean, we had a high hopes from them. They were actually, doing better before this tournament. They they were, managing top four in the league. Now that was before La Química split into low key and int. So we had, the third ranked team on South America they split, and now we had those two awesome teams that are going for the pass for RLCS. We can't. I mean, I don't think we can deny any of those teams a spot right now. I mean, they have proven they might be able to get there and fight for it. So, but yeah, we're still hoping for Cryptic to do better than Orchid in the beginning. I think all of us were thinking that they were going to do better than Orchid, and we got proven wrong, I think. Now you mentioned, Omer, Lotus, so I'm gonna go through that, and I think we were unsure of what Lotus was capable of. Like Lotus had been this team with such a huge upbringing, in the past. Like they were the top team in South America for a while, and they were playing so good. And then we start seeing these new teams come over, and these super teams have formed, and they were not able to stayed at the top, like really really top at the first place. But I think they've been playing better. That is that just me, or do you think they're doing they did better in those last 2 weeks? Alter or Dex, any of you guys, if you want to talk about it.
Well, I've been taking Lotus been what
Uh,
time ago. So the
Dex,
the
could
thing
you
is-
like
yeah,
speak
fixed.
closer?
Yeah, it's fixed now.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we've been watching Lotus since a long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
and as you mentioned, it was this big team that was always on the top. Then the others catch it up, and I don't know, we expect a lot more from Lotus when the Grand Series started, but now on these last 2 weeks and specifically today, we've seen that they're again on their feet. They're again giving the fight. They're again trying to get to keep that their position in the top and to reach even farther. So yeah, what you say? Yeah, I think Lotus has improved a lot, and they're showing again that they're a top team, and they're trying to improve that, and they're trying to get to don't get that behind for a long time on the fourth place, and it was really weird to see Lotus on that position.
Because if you asked me maybe 3-4 weeks ago, does Lotus have a chance to go to RLCS? I probably said no. Today, if you ask me, I think they might. I mean, I'm not saying they're gonna do it, but I think they might. Alter, I think we still have the top two as Erodium and Loki. We think those are the two teams that have the biggest chances to go. But do you think that Lotus have a chance of beating, for example, they're gonna have in the playoffs first match Orchid? Are they gonna beat Orchid, and then do they have a chance against Erodium on the semifinals?
I mean, they're beating Orchid for sure. I don't think they will lose to them, especially after the 3-0 game they played in league play. But winning against the other teams is gonna be super hard. Into was kind of tired from today. They had another tournament, so
Yeah.
they weren't playing at their best,
Mhm.
and they almost took the series. So I think I would give them the least chances from the top four, but I mean they are top four for a reason, so they could make it in.
So I won't go as far as to say that they'll definitely win. I mean, sure they won in league play, in last week, but what about in play-ins? They lost to them, to that very Orchid team. So, you can't. I don't know. I don't think it's that's what I'm saying. I think that's why it was so big for Orchid to have played as well as they did this week, because now there's confidence. And then if you look at kind of Lotus's results, like who did they lose to? Well, they got 3-0'd by Loki. They got 3-0 today by Erodium. So those are your 1 and 2 seeds, right? So, like, it's when you look at all of that together, and then, like you said, they barely survived against an INS team that was playing in another tournament that may have been fatigued, that may have just, whatever the case may have been, they may not have been 100%. So that means the 3 teams above them, they either barely beat or haven't beaten, and didn't even win a game in some cases. And then the other, Orchid is a team that has beaten them previously, and then, it's like, okay, so well, now where do they stand, right? And it's a very nervous place. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you guys are way more familiar with the scene than I am, but Lotus has been together for a long time and
2
longer
years.
than any other team, right?
Yes. Yes.
Over 2 years, yes.
Yeah. So now, if there is a team that's going to overcome these kinds of problems, it's them. They at this point they should be like brothers to each other, right? Like they have played this game
Or hate each
for
other.
so long
Yeah.
together, or hate each other. And if they hate each other, then maybe it's best they lose and never play again. I don't know, but I'm gonna go ahead and say they like each other because I have some of my closest friends play Rocket League, and I haven't been able to play with them for 2 years. I've been like, I'm gonna go find other people to play with. So if they've been able to do it, I think they really get along, and that's what's important because they need to be their biggest fans right now. Like any doubt that they have has to be gone because they are. Yeah, it's just they don't have a room for error anymore.
It's funny.
Yeah,
It's funny you mentioned the series they had with Orchid back when, because I don't think Orchid is the same. I mean, they have improved so much, and I think Lotus has improved a lot too. I mean, that's why I was saying, at the beginning of the Grand Series, we were not feeling the same Lotus we had before, and now I think they're getting into the rhythm again. I don't know what went, on their heads, what happened, why they were not performing at the level we wanted. But today, even though they lost 3-0 to Erodium, they had a really tough matches. They were really good. I think those they needed those matches. We lost, but we gave them a really good match. We can watch the replay now, figure out what went wrong, and maybe improve on that. So it's definitely not the same series we saw. The Orchid Lotus series is gonna be a different one. And it's a fun one to watch. I want to watch it. It's not gonna be a blowout. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. I think it's gonna be an interesting series. The other series we had, and it's one game that we saw today, and it was competitive. It's on the playoffs. It's gonna be Ints against Cryptic, and I think that's the best matchup we can have for Cryptic right now. Among all the other teams. Obviously, they were not gonna be seated against Orchid. That wasn't gonna happen because it's 5th place. But amongst the top 4, I think Ints is the best matchup for them because they didn't have a good showing against any other team, and they had some good moments today against Ints. So Cryptic, this is the best chance they had.
Yeah, but I think that ints they played on planes is the worst ints we've seen since they formed. So I wouldn't say it's gonna be the same match. I think the team you want to play from top 4 is Lotus, because right now they haven't figured out themselves.
Mhm.
So you want to play them, but now that you have ints in front of you, you just have to do what you did on the planes. That's just it.
Let's see. Oh, we're talking about the Ints that didn't show up today, playing their best. But we have said many times, in Dex we said that this before today. They're inconsistent. They don't have the same play style through the whole series. They change a lot. If they feel like PJ is really strong, they're gonna feed him a lot. If not, then they're gonna focus on defense and try to get a good clear, and then with the clear score. And then sometimes they will start making passing plays. It's weird. Their play style is weird. But what they have today was that they were on a LAN before playing today's Rocket Street Grand Series, and they were together. So they have the communication factor for them, going on for them. They didn't have any lag on communication or anything like that. So even though they didn't show up extremely strong today, they had that going on too, which is a factor that's not going to be there out there anymore for them until RLCS if they make it. So I don't know if I'm putting too much, I'm not a pro player, so maybe I'm putting too much weight on being there all together and playing together. But I think that it had a factor too, that helped them. Obviously, they were not playing with their setup, so that might be an issue too. I mean, they were playing with someone else's computers, and I don't know how much that factor on their playing style today.
Mhm.
Anyway, going to what we were talking today, we had Erodium and we have Loki. They skipped the first round. They had a bye for the quarterfinals, so they're good. They're just waiting to see who's gonna be their matchups on the first day of the playoffs. but we want to talk about what we were saying. We had to choose for the MVP of the whole series. Today we chose an MVP for the week, or for the day basically. But we also chose the MVP for the whole season. So, Omer, you were we asked you before, starting the show, who was the MVP for you for the whole season. But who do you think is the MVP for today? Who played the best today for you?
Um, Honestly, for today specifically, I still want to go. I think when I think about this, it's how does Erodium do without Moth coming through and playing as strong as he did, and that redirect goal. I keep going back to that redirect goal because it was such a nice goal, and you don't even like when you watch it in slow mo in the replay, you realize how incredible it was because if he doesn't touch it, it looks like it's getting saved. Or at least to me, it looks like it's
It
getting
was.
saved.
It was.
And,
It was getting
and
saved.
and it's just like so just like what do you want from when we talk about MVPs in sports, what do you want your best players to do? What do you want your Messi's, your Ronaldo's to do? You want them
Clutch.
to lead you. You want them to be the biggest players, put up the best numbers, but that's the word, the clutch. You want them in the biggest stage, in the biggest moment when you need the big play, the ball finds its way to them and they deliver. And you know what? He did that. So if not for more than just that one play, I don't, I'm okay. Like I can make, there was so much more that happened that was meaningful in games that happened in close games and nail biters, but that moment stands out to me, and I just want to give it to him for that. I'm not even gonna pretend like I have a valid argument beyond that. Right? Like, I am just saying that play felt so special in that moment to me that I want to give it to him just for that.
I mean, I was picking Caio today. I think Caio played beautifully. He was making the goals. He was, carrying the team when Math or Bolt were not involved. So I think he was doing a lot of things that I felt like this is the Caio I was, rooting for 1 year, 2 years ago. That when the scene was still, growing and we were still finding, trying to find who was the best player of South America among, who was this guy that was gonna lead South America to greatness? It was Caio back then, and I felt that Caio today, shine and go through. However, these guys were saying, nope, we're not gonna give it to Caio. We think it's I forgot the name. I'm sorry about that. Bruno Visky. So Bruno had a great showing. Alter, if you wanna expand on that.
Yeah, Bruno. They had a week. They had to win. They absolutely had to win to make playoffs. And Bruno just went off. I don't know what he ate for breakfast, but he was going insane, making insane goals. That 0-second goal with his wheels against Cryptic was insane. I've never seen something like that. That was really good. And yeah, Bruno was just the team basically today. They play with their sub and they won really really well. They played really well with their sub. When they played with their starting roster, sorry, they played again really well, and Bruno was just making everything happen.
So the week's MVP is Bruno, and then for the whole thing, for the whole series, we were debating a lot about who's gonna be the MVP, and finally in the end, we decided. I don't know if this is official, but we were talking about among ourselves, and in the end, we decided that Math was the MVP of the whole thing. He was really strong. When he was strong, it felt like he was playing at 180%, and then when he wasn't as strong, then he felt like he was playing at 80, 75, something like that. But he's mechanically he's so gifted, and he was doing so many things right. Like every time the ball was on his hand or his car, whatever, and
His wheels.
on his wheels, yeah, and he made a double tap, it will go in. So it was so hard to choose between him and Card because Card was doing the same thing, but for Loki. The difference is that in the end, it seems like Erodium made it first place and Loki second. It was such a tiny difference, but yeah, those guys were great. So I think it was a really tough choice, but we had to make it that way. Omer, I know you have to leave, but just bold comment in the end, bold prediction. Who do you think are the two teams that are going to be representing South America from for in the RLCS this season 7?
Honestly, for that, I want to see Kaio and I want to see Math there just because we've heard so much about them. Anybody that's playing Rocket League Fantasy knows how insane Math has been. The same reason I want to see Card be there as well, because I want the best players in the world to be on the biggest stage to show off what they can do, and that to me is where legends are made, right? Like you can be great in ranked, you can be number 1 ranked on the leaderboard, but they'll never remember you as much as they will for winning a world championship. And so I would love to see them all be there. I think they're the strongest teams. However, with that, the reality is that they have to come show up next week and they have to play their games.
Of course.
And, and I think, like, I think Ints showed us early in the season. They showed us this team that looked like they were the best team before eventually, Erodium and Loki kind of established themselves in those top 2 spots. There was the first couple of weeks I watched and I was like, I should probably know more about this Ints team, right? Like I didn't see this coming, and Matix played fantastic through. Like every time I feel like every time I watched him play, it was like, okay, he's making a play here. Oh, okay, he's making a play there. Like it was and it's like I want to believe for teams like that they have a great chance. But if you want me to make a prediction, I'm going with the safest bet, and that's the reason I think Mott is the MVP, the reason Card is in that conversation. The best players, the legends, they show up in these moments, and I want them to try to not only show up now but have a chance to show up in New Jersey at the end of May or at the end of June, sorry, to be that, to be kind of what I think I brought this up the first time in the first week when I was talking to you guys when we started to do our English coverage of Sam, which was there's a player that's going to have the opportunity to become kind of what Kronovi was to all of Rocket League, way back when, right? Like you may have heard of Rocket League, but if you had heard of Rocket League, you had heard of Kronovi, right? You may not have heard of anyone else, but you had heard of Kronovi. And I think, Moth and Card specifically, one of those two has the chance to be that for SAM as a region, right? You may not know of Orchid, you may not know of Loki or Ints or Erodium or G Factor or Cryptic, but you will have heard one of their names and you will have seen some nutty shot that they made. And so I hope at least one, if not both of them, get their chance to go. And that's kind of what I'm expecting to see and what I want to see both.
I love what you're saying. I love how you said it, and in the end, it's basically having that Ferra moment, for them.
For a moment.
where you get the cast and, shouting, Ferra! We're going to do, Bath! Oh my God! Something like that, because we're going to have some moments like that, definitely, if they make it to the RLCS. So I am 100% with you right there. It's who's going to be the best ambassador for South America in RLCS in the world, basically. And I think can't go wrong with either of those 3 guys. And I'm putting Kaio in the conversation too. I really think if Kaio makes it to the RLCS, he's probably gonna do better than Math over there. I think he's stoic, like he can keep the composure a little bit better than Math. And just do whatever the team actually needs. That's my take. Dex, if you wanna, if you have anything to add to what he say, if you got another team on your mind, but who do you think is gonna make it to RLCS?
Well, if you asked me this 2 weeks ago,
Can't hear Dex.
Maybe
I don't
3.
know why? It's moving. It's
My
blinking,
God.
but I don't hear any noise from his.
No, can you hear me now?
I can.
Alter, can you go then?
Yeah. Right.
My bad. I think it's my mic.
No. Can you hear me now, Chamaco? It seems Chamaco is dead now.
I'm gonna ask you next week if you think Sam is making it out of Bruce. So be ready for that.
I have to see who's going to Worlds from every region.
Yeah.
First,
That's
because,
I wanted to ask you that today, but we don't really know who's going to World. So yeah, you can't say.
there's a lot of teams with a lot of flaws that have kind of shown and inconsistencies, and maybe not flaws is the wrong word, but yeah, like it's hard to say. The Rocket League thankfully has gotten to this point where any team, any of the highest levels of teams can compete, on any particular day, right? And that's what
Yeah.
the World Championships are. They're not who's the best team over a month or over 3 months. They are who is the best team for 3 days. And so
Mm-hmm.
once we know who's there, it'll be really interesting. And I I would love nothing more than to see to see a Sam team show up. And I think especially a team like Erodium, with as much individual talent they have and as well as they've played together, that's a team that's trapped. Like, I think one of the NA or EU teams that should, if common belief is to hold, they should win very easily.
Yep.
They might kind of overlook an Erodium and be like, okay, well, they've never played at a LAN, they've never played in front of a crowd this big,
Yeah.
they've never done all of these things, we'll be fine. And then they find themselves losing 3-1 in the first game, and they're going into the second game wondering, like, how do we correct everything? So that's a crazy moment that I would it would be great to see. And so, like, I want that, but
Yeah.
it has to be the right team. Like, I don't think you're gonna go up against a Vitality or an
Energy, yeah.
playing right now and be like, oh, we're Sam, you've never seen us play before, so we're gonna beat you, because, well, the best of the best that have seen them every week haven't been able to beat them right now. So it'll be interesting. But no, thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Hopefully, I'm so glad you guys gave us the opportunity to share the Grand Series with the English audience, because what little I knew before, like, I was completely blown away. Not in a bad way, like, oh, I thought they were going to be bad, but just I expected there to be one team, maybe two teams, and then a lot of teams that just needed more time to develop. But watching every team play, competitive to each other, and to have 4 to 5 teams that are so close together, it really excites me. I think this experience with the regional championships and then the 2 teams that go to LAN, what they'll learn from that and bring back is going to be amazing. And I'm glad that we got to share this, and you guys did an amazing job all season, and we look forward to Sam having a great showing going forward. And just my last little note, I would love for Lance to show off as the only non-Brazilian player left in Grand Series to come have a great showing. Maybe for a series or something, just because I feel like it's a great representation of an entire continent that's been very, as far as my experience, has been very passionate about everything they've ever gotten into. Real sports, real world ventures, esports, everything. So thank you for that opportunity, and I look forward to everything that you guys are going to do as a community.
Man, the best thing is that you said it yourself. I mean, we were not scripted or anything. It comes right from your heart. So, from a person that wasn't involved in this from the beginning, because we're really passionate. We have been working for South America for 3 years now. But for you to come here and, say those words that are really unbiased, then, I really appreciate it so much. Obviously, you're not saying that we're going to win everything as we are. But other than that, it means a lot. I don't think we have much more to say. I know you have to go, so I'm gonna wrap it here. You basically have next week, and we have matches on Saturday and Sunday, and that's it, guys. I mean, just come over. You get 3 streams to watch it. You can watch it in English in Rocket League Central. You can watch it in Spanish in Rocket Street Live, and you can watch it in Portuguese in Rocket Street BR. So do yourself a favor and watch it. It's gonna be amazing. So that's it. I'm Chamaco. I was here with Alter, Dex, and Omer, and we're gonna go. Bye, guys. Have a good day.